Today I'm going to show you the best way to do a provisional cast on. Hi, welcome to Sharing Knits. I love knitting and I want you to love it too. Today I'm going to show you how to do a provisional cast on doing a crocheted cast on. I think it's the best. Let's get started. Let's take a look at provisional cast on. A provisional cast on creates an edge where you can go back later and pick up live stitches to work the opposite direction. This is often used for scarves that start in the center and mirror two different directions. So you would cast on and work one way, and then you would come back and pick up the stitches created from that provisional cast on and go the other way so they have an identical look. You might do this at sleeves of a sweater, a hat, the bottom of a sweater, lots of different reasons you'd want to do provisional cast on. But basically it's just where if you want to have a space where you can go back later and pick up live stitches. So I've showed you before how to do the crochet cast on, and today I'm going to show you that same technique, but how to use it for provisional cast on. So you want to have the yarn you're going to use for your project, and then you want to have some waste yarn, your needles that you'll use for the project, and then a crochet hook that's the same size as your needles, or maybe one size smaller. You don't want your crochet hook to be too far off. It just gets kind of frustrating if it's too big or too small. Your needles are actually creating the size of the loops, but just having the crochet hook about the same size makes it easier for you to work with. So let's go ahead and make a slip knot, and we don't need to have a lot of tail, just a few inches. Make your slip knot, and that slip knot goes right on the crochet hook. And for this technique, you're going to hold the yarn in your left hand, also the knitting needle in your left hand. So I usually grab the yarn like that and then just hold the knitting needle on top of the yarn. I also like to keep a hold of the tail with my right hand, just so this stitch doesn't twist all around and frustrate me. So what you want to do with the needle on top of the yarn is take your crochet hook, go over the top of the needle, grab the yarn, and then bring it through. So see how I grab, now I'm switching and grabbing the tail with my left hand, but then it goes back to my right hand, and I've made one loop on the needle, take the yarn to the back, and repeat. So hook goes over the needle, grabs the yarn, brings it through, and you'll notice I'm securing that tail now with my left hand, but then it goes back to my right hand, and when I do that, I take the yarn and go to the back. And just repeat that until you have the correct number of stitches on your needle. Pardon the background noise. I am at a campground and I'm sitting outside. It's beautiful, and for the most part it's pretty quiet, but there's an occasional car that goes by. But it's nice to be outside doing this. So again, yarn's underneath, crochet hook comes over the top, grabs the yarn, brings it through, stop, take the yarn to the back. All right, now when you're doing this crochet cast on as your cast on, the final loop of on your crochet hook actually pops up onto the needle and becomes your last stitch. But for this, it doesn't. So if I want to put 10 stitches on here, then 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. This doesn't count. I need to do one more. And now what I want to do is cut the yarn. Find my scissors here. So I'm going to cut the yarn. Again, it doesn't need to be very long because this is your waste yarn and this is going to disappear. But what you want to do here is wrap it like you're going to make another stitch down here and just bring it through like that. Okay, now we're going to continue working on these stitches. Now these are our live stitches, and we're going to bring in the working yarn, and we're going to start right here. What I like to do this is where I ended. I want to take this tail and I want to put some knots in it. Something just to differentiate this tail from the beginning tail. Because when you go and undo these stitches, you want to start at the end where you finished. So I finished casting on here, and this is where I'll start undoing the waste yarn later. So now I'm going to attach my yarn, and I'm going to start knitting with it and do whatever it is your pattern tells you to do. And when I'm finished, I will show you how to go back and undo that waste yarn and then continue on. Okay, so now I'm at the end. I'm working on the tiniest project ever. Here's my piece that I was knitting. And so I'm going to cut the yarn, finish off my bind off. Now, what I want to do is go to the other side, and I want to pick up the stitches so that I can work. So here we go. And I love using circular needles for this because it doesn't matter where you end up. You've got your needles on both sides, and so you don't have to worry about that. Remember I told you that way we want to start undoing this provisional cast on at the point we finished making it. And I tied that little knot, so there it is. So I'm going to turn it this way. It'll just be easier for me to work. And we're going to undo this end here. Okay, so now holding that down, we're just going to start pulling. And catching the stitches. So there's one there. And basically you're just sort of unzipping these stitches. And if you feel uncomfortable pulling it and then picking it up, if it feels like, oh, scary, you're gonna drop it, something's gonna happen, then what you can do is just take the tip of your needle and you're looking at the back of your work. So you'd go back to front through that stitch to get it on there correctly, and then you can pull. And again, I'm looking at the back, the wrong side of the stitch, so I want to go back to front through the stitch and pull. So if it feels uncomfortable to you to pull it and then pick it up, because it is easy to split stitches that way, then just do it this way. It's a little easier. And continue across until you've captured all those stitches. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Here's your 10th one, kind of funky, but you just grab that last one. All right, and now you're able to take your needle and just knit across and go the opposite way to complete whatever mirrored pattern you're doing. So crochet cast on as a provisional cast on, really my favorite. It's the easiest, the best. You can do this, you're the boss of your knitting, and it's fun. All right, I hope that was helpful and that you get a chance to use it really soon. What I wanted to mention to you that I forgot to say in the video is when you're picking up those stitches at the end, when you're unzipping the provisional cast on, you're actually collecting stitches in between the original stitches, so you have one less stitch, and you have to be creative picking up that first and last stitch. Just grab a loop to make sure you have the right number. Also, click the link below. I have a free download for how to choose the right yarn for your project. Click the link below and you can download that. See you next time.